Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's March 15th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And as I promised, we're going to take a quick look at I've updated the daily chart to the March contract. You can see, although there's still a little downward channel here, it's more sideways than the other channel was, and there's been really strong support right here around 38.50. And that explains why we bounced out of there the last few times now. The last time it looked like we were going to maybe break lower, and they got out of there again. And now we're just kind of chopping along sideways, and so we're not getting any real rejection yet still from that level. So it's possible we're going to breach this eventually, but there's a lot of buying coming in at that price level. You can kind of see today, while we closed way off of the lows, we still closed lower for the day. So we're just kind of doing the up down thing here again. We did make a higher low yesterday. So we'll see. We may rally out of here. It took a little bit last time before we rallied out. So maybe it'll take a little bit more and we'll rally out of there again. We'll see. But my guess is we just got a lot of strong support here that eventually we may push on through it. But we'll have to see. But this definitely gives us a more sideways look than what we were looking at last month, although it's still a downward bias here, as you can see. So let's flip over to the intraday chart. Crazy wild day of just up, down, up, down, up, down again. So it's difficult trading, but let's flip over there and take a look at that chart. Okay, here's a look at this chart. You can see we had the big, really bearish sell-off and a break. It was a two-legged correction, then a new low, and there was always a chance we could make another measured leg down similar to this one, but that didn't happen today. We just kind of chugged along here and couldn't go lower, so we finally broke higher, but we didn't go much higher either. I mean, we're into the next day's trading, and it's still pushing higher, so we might get some follow-through buying. We'll have to see. But you can see this is really, I mean, the whole day was just really up, down, up, down. We got a little bit of a rally here. This is hard trading. It really is. So, but anyway, there's still some trades in here, quite a few actually. But we'll zoom in. We'll go through the trades, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. But you really didn't get a chance to trade till after about 8 o'clock today. That you had all this 7:30 news, and there just wasn't anything much happening prior to that. So you needed to kind of wait until this news item settled down, and really that was just a little bit before 8, I would say. You need to probably wait 15 or 20 minutes at the minimum. And you can see things are kind of settling down here, and we get this trend line and a higher low. I marked this one blue. It's close to, there's enough room to get out here, so I went ahead and marked this. I went back and forth whether this should be green or blue, but we got a higher double bottom and another higher low, and this is a second entry long, new high, first entry, second entry, so I think you're safe to take that trade. It didn't go very far, just kind of went sideways, and then it jumped up again, and you get another second entry, and of course I like that one as well. It looks like we're just doing the stair stepping here where it shoots up and goes sideways, shoots up and goes sideways, and you'll see that occasionally. There's another high. Of course, we got the second entry. There's a high or low here, but it's too close to the highs, and that's a new high. And if you'd got a signal bar here, it would have been a great place to maybe enter, but you just don't get a signal bar until finally here. And by that point, it's right off the key entry point. You could also probably call that a triple test across there, but it's right off the key entry point, second entry long. Nice reversal type signal bar. Traded way down here and then reverses, close on its high. I like going long there. Unfortunately, it didn't take off, but it's a quick, easy scalp, and then it backs up there and takes your stops out. So no runners or anything like that. We make another higher low right here on another second entry, but no signal bar. And of course, you get your break here and a couple legs to a new high, and then we're reversing and turning down. And I like this one simply because you got a new low and you get a first entry and then a second entry. Nice bearish bar right off a possible key entry point there. Um, drops down. You get another, there's a hidden second entry here. That's a very advanced trade. If you know what's going on, you see that, maybe you enter there. Lower high here, but it's right into the lows. You can't take that. And then we're just testing this low down here, pretty much that we tested earlier, and it just chops along, and it finally bounces out of there, but you don't really get a setup to get out, to trade it. And then you get a break and new high, and then you're running down. This you're just chopping up and down here. This is really hard trading. Like I said, it's just not hardly worth trading. I marked this as a lower high right here after the break and new high, and you definitely wouldn't want to go short right there. But this being that far away from the EMA on the engulfing bar, maybe you take that trade. I don't know. It's a little risky. I marked it green because you expect prices to at least make a new low here, which they do, and then we're running up again, break, new high, and then we're running down again, break, and finally a new low there. Excuse me, my throat's bothering me a little bit today. And then we're just chopping on. We're still breaking lower here, but you can't go short into the support, and you would expect a possible failure down here somewhere on the breakout. Even if it's only going to be temporary, we're probably going to fail on a breakout. And then you get that right here. That's very aggressive, though. Even though we got the nice bullish bar a good bit away from the EMA, there's plenty of room to scalp out there. You really need to know what you're doing. So here I'd wait on something to prove we're going the other way. And notice how it runs back up here, gets back inside the channel, confirms the trend line right there. And it's just a first entry, but it's just a bounce off the support. You'd expect to be able to get a scalp out of that. Runs up, and then we're just chopping along. It's not going higher, but it's trying to go lower and can't. And you actually get a triple test here. I marked this one green just simply because it's a crazy signal bar. I mean, 27 ticks. We're probably going to push on up and hopefully go to the other side, but you just don't know that that's going to happen. I'm not crazy about that entry. If it would have broke lower and gave you an engulfing bar here, maybe you enter, but I'm just not crazy about entering up here, especially right into what was the center of the a range. But the fact that you got all those tests there and couldn't go lower and then get such a bullish bar, the buyers are coming in there, so you'll probably get a scalp out of it. But it's risky, and you need to be a good chart reader probably to want to take that. And then, of course, you made a new high, and you end up making another couple of pushes before it sells off. And I wouldn't trust going long on any of that because you already had your break and new high here. And of course, now you got a trend working down, break. You actually get a two-legged correction, and then a new low, and then you're working up. I mean, we're just chop. I mean, there's no direction here. People are just fighting it out. It's all they're doing. There's no direction here. And so I don't see anything I like. Maybe you buy this support again. It bounces with another strong signal bar. So maybe you buy that again. Again, I made it green. We've got this little quick channel with a break, new high, and then we get a little drop, and it's like a little spiking channel here. And finally, we get a second entry short on the bottom side of the midline with a big bearish bar, probably headed to at least here. And it ends up breaking through and coming back. You get another second entry here, which is you have the trend line, the EMA, the previous support resistance acting as resistance. It's a break out of this little channel, so it'll probably come back and test that even if it's going to go higher. And so I like hitting that for a scalp, and you actually, that's probably about all you get. And then you get a lower high here on a second entry short. So again, same things. You got the EMA, the trend line still holding. You got plenty of room to get out. I like taking that trade because this channel is clearly still in play. I don't think there's probably an overshoot. I think the channel's just more like that. We just didn't quite get there on that one. Then of course we get the break, and we get 2 legs to a new low, and it finally reverses on the failed breakout. Um, I don't like going long to here. You get a second entry long with a nice signal bar, plenty of room to get out. And you see it does find resistance there before it pushes on through. And of course you get your break here. And there's a second entry long. You might take that trade. I didn't mark it. Prices are not quite back to the EMA, but the reason is because you got that support there again. Very similar to over here. So it's just you're just picking back up that area again. So maybe you take that trade on that second entry right there, and it runs up and it comes back right here, and it gives you a triple test down for sure with a nice signal bar. So again, maybe you take that. Turns back down. There's another one right there on a higher low. This coming off the main, what was the main support across there. I think that's where you're getting most of your support. So I didn't mark it, but maybe the reason I didn't mark this is because of all that congestion. I don't even feel like comfortable marking that green. I just skip it. Of course, it runs up here, breaks out and fails, comes back inside, gives you a lower high with a nice signal bar, runs at the bottom, and again it breaks out, and then it gives you a higher low. This actually breaks lower and turns up. I don't know if I go long here, but maybe on the engulfing bar, and then that's an inside bar and a little doji, so even that I'm not crazy about, but we could go much higher here on the failed breakout. And it's a higher breakout than this one, so good chance we go back at least to the highs here. And so if you take that, it's a great trade, but it's a little risky. It's a little aggressive. And you don't get another chance to enter that until you come up here and you get a two-legged correction with that's a second entry long, but we're not back to the EMA. There was a lot of momentum here, so you could argue for it to be green, but I'm not going to take that trade. There's too big a chance you're still going lower, which you do, but you would have easily got a scalp. So you could argue for it to be green, but I think you're better off to wait. And you can see we're just this is mostly sideways, but it's also slightly bearish. So when it comes back here and confirms the trend line and gives you a second entry short with plenty of room back to the EMA, I like that trade. There's a lower high here, but I'm not as crazy about it because of all the support across there. I would wait. Of course, you get a second entry long, but that's an inside bar. And you can see we're just chopping along, but you can clearly see this trend line is in play too. So when you get this triple test here and another second entry short, I like going short there. And then it just kind of drops on down, and it does confirm the other side of the channel and bounces. I don't think you want to go long there. You get a break, move to a new high. If you got a little better signal bar, maybe you go short there. Then you're running down. You get a close outside, move to a new low. I don't see any reason to buy here yet. You still haven't made a new low on the channel, and there's a lot of sideways stuff here too. And so it's just prices are just bouncing around. Now there is a second entry here with a little bit of room back to the EMA. Notice the new high, first entry, second entry. But we're not quite back down to the previous support resistance. We're not down to this low. There is a little room back to the EMA. It's another one. Maybe you take that second entry. That late in the day, I say skip it. And of course, now you've got a channel up. Break here. I didn't draw this one, but it's there. Close outside, move to a new high, and then it turns down. And this just takes us into 230. I don't see anything else. I mean, there is another bounce off the trend line that kind of confirms it, but it's an inside bar. And you got to go long right into the EMA. It's just not a setup. It doesn't meet our entry criteria. So I don't think you want to take it either. And that takes us into 230. So yeah, really, really hard trading to trade this stuff. Really, all you can do is find these trends and try to trade them, and then see what happens at the support and resistance areas. Um, it's just difficult type trading. It really is. So, but there it is. That's how I saw it today. Just be careful trading this stuff. Don't be afraid to take a day off. If it's doing this all day long, this long, into 1 o'clock, is it worth hanging around to see if maybe you get something that late? I don't know. Personally, if you can't find a couple of trades early on a day like this, you're probably better off just to close up shop and call it a day. Now, if you're sim trading and learning and you don't get enough time to practice as it is, by all means, sim trade and practice, but you're probably going to get chopped up and have a bunch of losses. But it's something to study, and it helps you learn that you got to be very choosy on days like this, and you probably don't want to trade days like this if you're really struggling with it. So, the hope was we'd get another measured move down like this first leg, but that's a really big sell-off. I mean, we dropped from 39.65 area all the way down to 38.70. So about 100 points there. Actually, before we quit, it was exactly 100 points. By the time you got your little two-legged correction, I was really hoping we'd get another leg down, but it just wasn't going to be. I mean, this 38.50 area has been really hard on the daily chart. It's been really hard to breach, and when it does, prices they just keep bouncing there. So we just had that one breach back in October. It didn't go very much further, and since then we hadn't been able to breach that. So it's continuing to hold. There it is, and now we're selling off again. So who knows what to expect tomorrow? Probably more of the same. But we'll see. Maybe tomorrow will be a little better. We'll come back tomorrow and wrap up our week. Believe it or not, the week's almost over. Man, it went by quick. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this day up. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.